You know those parts of yourself you kind of push down? The stuff you'd rather not look at? Well, today we're going to dive deep into that hidden self, but through a really powerful story, a parable about a jester and his mirror.
This quote right here, it's everything. It really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? The idea that we all have two faces. There's the shiny, golden one we show everybody, and then there's that rough, wooden one we keep locked away. And our jester, oh, he's about to put on a masterclass in showing us exactly what that means.
All right, let's jump right in. Picture this, a bustling village square, super crowded, noisy, just the chaos of everyday life. And it's right here that we meet our guide. He's not your typical teacher. He's a jester, and his methods can get a little uncomfortable.
So you see this jester, right? He's a blur of motion, and he's wearing this wild mask. Half of it is shining gold, and the other half is this ugly, charred wood. And then, whoops, he trips. At least it looks like he trips, but it's totally on purpose. He makes sure that the dark wooden side of the mask is the part that hits the ground hard. And you hear this nervous laughter ripple through the crowd. It's that kind of laugh where you know they get it. He made it funny. So for just a second, they could all look at their own messy, hidden parts without freaking out.
And boom, that's it right there. That's our first big idea, the Jungian shadow. That burnt wooden part of the mask, it's a perfect metaphor for all the stuff we push down. The weaknesses, the desires, the things our conscious brain just doesn't want to admit are there. We've all got a charred side, you know? And the jester's point is pretty clear. Ignore it, and sooner or later, it's going to trip you up.
Okay, so what happens when we just refuse to look at that stuff in ourselves? Well, funny thing is, we start seeing it in everybody else. Let's see how our jester handles this little quirk of human nature. So the jester spots this merchant, right? A guy who's super proud of his, quote, absolute honesty. And the jester doesn't say a word. He just starts mimicking him. Every time the merchant gives one of his polite little bows, the jester does one too. But he adds this tiny little snarl. You can barely even see it. But it's this incredibly spot-on imitation, and it's basically holding up a mirror to the merchant's own greed, the exact same greed he was always blaming his competitors for.
You know what that's called? That's shadow projection. It's a classic move. We take all the things we don't like about ourselves, the greed, the anger, whatever, and we just slap it onto other people. It's like we're using them as a screen to project our own movie. That merchant was convinced his rivals were greedy because he just couldn't deal with his own. The jester he made it impossible to ignore.
And here's the kicker. The jester's big lesson for this very angry merchant. The shinier you make your public mask, your persona as Carl Jung would call it, the bigger and darker the shadow gets right behind you. It's like a cosmic law or something.
Next up, we're at a big feast. The jester sees this woman who is just perfect. So perfect she's almost not there, like a ghost. And what does he do? He grabs a handful of soot and just tosses it up into the air. This dark little cloud forms and settles all over her perfect white dress. Of course, she freaks out, and he just points out that the soot finally made her visible. Before that, she was just a ghost of virtue.
So that makes you wonder, right? What's the problem with being too perfect? What's the real danger there?
Well, the danger is that you can lose yourself completely. You identify so much with that perfect mask, your social role, that there's nothing left inside. You become a hollow shell. That soot, that was her shadow. And in a weird way, it gave her back her humanity. It gave her weight, substance, and reconnected her to the messy, real world we all live in.
All right, so we know the shadow can trip us, and we know we project it. The big question is, what are we supposed to do about it? And this next lesson from the jester, this one might be the most important of all. The jester comes across this young guy right at the edge of a forest, and he is just terrified of the violent thoughts he's having. Now, you'd expect the jester to offer some comfort, right? Nope. He starts cracking jokes about the beast that lives in his own stomach. He tells the young man, don't try to kill the beast, you've got to make friends with it.
And his advice is actually a pretty cool 3-step plan. First, you got to admit the beast exists. Stop pretending it's not there. Step 2, you have to feed it, but not with violence. You feed it with creativity, with music, with laughter. And if you do that, you get to step 3, which is the real magic. You turn all that wild, chaotic energy from something scary into an incredible source of strength.
And that whole process, that's what we call shadow integration. It's pretty much the whole point of this kind of psychology, and it's the heart of our story. See, it's not about getting rid of your dark side. It's about bringing it into the light, understanding it, and then using its power. You literally turn your inner enemy into your greatest ally.
So let's talk more about this power of the shadow. For his next trick, the jester goes somewhere unexpected.
We're talking the king's treasury, the most secure room in the entire kingdom. And what do they find him doing? He's swapping out priceless gold coins for plain old river stones. He gets caught, obviously, but his explanation is wild. He tells the guards, hey, a stone you can throw is worth way more than a gold coin you just have to hide.
And this really breaks it down perfectly. Think about it. The ego's treasure, the gold coins, that's our polished public self. He calls it deadlight. It looks good, but it's just sitting there, not doing anything. But the shadow's wealth, the river stones, that's living darkness. It's raw, it's real, and it's actually useful. It's energy you can wield.
This all ties into the idea of psychic energy. It's like the raw fuel for your entire personality, and a huge chunk of it is stored in the shadow. If you learn to use it, like that river stone, it gives you incredible strength and drive. But if you just let it sit there, ignored, like the gold, it either goes stale or it turns destructive.
So we've reached the final chapter of this incredible story. The jester has taught everyone, the crowd, the merchant, the young man, even the king. But there's one last lesson, and this time the student is the jester himself.
It's late at night, and he's alone, looking at his reflection in a lake. He watches the gold and the charred wood of his mask just kind of melt together in the water, and it hits him. He's not the light side, he's not the dark side, he's the bridge between them. That's his whole job, to be the thing that connects the two.
This feeling, this realization, this is what Jung called the transcendent function. It's what happens when you stop trying to pick a side between your conscious self and your shadow. You just hold that tension, and something new is born from it, a kind of wholeness. The jester didn't just understand it, he became it.
And really, that's the whole takeaway here. Becoming whole isn't about winning a battle. It's not about making the gold part shinier and getting rid of the wooden part. It's about finally understanding that you are both. It's about finding the guts to stop fighting your own shadow, and instead, asking it to dance. So I guess the only question left is, are you ready for that dance?